So, welcome and hello. Welcome to this meeting. Today our agenda is to our meeting of agenda. I already give you on email, so you can already all can see. So for the meeting objective, I want to state again that our meeting objective is to discuss and analyze the financial statement of ratios of our company to evaluate our financial position and performance. So I think without further ado, let's just start this meeting. So for Hani, please state our company background, please.
Okay, first and foremost, we would like to thank Almighty God for giving us the strength to complete this financial management report successfully. We thank the University of Malaya Center for Continuing Education UMC for allowing us to complete this report assignment. Therefore, we want to express our heartfelt appreciation to Madam Farhana Ghazali, who has extremely patient and supportive during this project. Her strong and support and decisive role encourage us to receive. We appreciate her intelligent teachings in the financial management course, which were both interesting and informative. Our heartfelt gratitude also extends to our parents for their unwavering love and support. Okay, so next I will explain about background company. Tenaga Nasional Berhad is Malaysia's largest electrical utility. They play a significant role in nation building through our primary business of supplying power to the nation, residents, company, and industry. The operation covers the whole value chain involved in the production and supply of power. Next, in an effort to provide value for all of the stakeholders, they also have started implementing for the sustainability agenda in recent years through programs like renewable energy and other environmental and social projects. They think that by engaging in these activities, PNB will not only survive into the future but also experience long-term business growth. Last, Tenaga Nasional Berhad have been in operation for 75 years. They take great pride in being the top electrical utility in Malaysia, serving Peninsula Malaysia, Sabah, and Labuan. As they develop into a domestic and regional champion, they also have made a reputation for themselves in the area, growing TMB into one of the biggest electricity providers in Asia.
Okay.
That's all from me.
Thank you, Adi. So for Zul, now let's move into the second agenda, which is the ratio analysis. So Zul, how about our liquidity and efficiency of our company?
Okay, so let's start with our liquidity ratio. As you can see, our current ratio is 1.6 to 4. It means that our company has enough asset to cover our liabilities. Next is our asset test ratio. It shows that our asset test ratio is 1.595. It shows that our company asset test ratio is more than 1. This means that our company can cover our short-term debt. So let's move on to our efficiency ratio, which is inventory turnover ratio. So for that ratio is 12.681. So it means that our company sells and replace our inventory 12 times in year. So the last one is account receivable turnover ratio. So for account receivable turnover ratio is 3.028. So it means that our company collect our average receivable about 3 times in a year. So that's all from me.
So now about Amirul, about our leverage ratio.
So about our leverage ratio, for debit ratio, 0.615 is show debit ratio is below than 1. So about time interest yield ratio is 0.378. same about below than 1, and so that's all.
Okay, now, so for Anik, our profitability ratio of our company, please
Okay,
explain.
so for my profitability ratio,
Mhm.
so here is for you to. So for profitability ratio, hypothetical financial data for TNB. For our revenue is about RM 50 billion. For our cost of goods sold, which is RM 32 billion. For our net profit, which is RM 4 billion. For our total assets, which is RM 80 billion. For our shareholders' equity, which is about RM 25 billion. So we have gross profit margin, net profit margin, return of asset (ROE), and return on equity (ROE). So for summary of our ratios for TNB, which is gross profit margin, which is about 36%. For our net profit margin, which is 8%. For our return on assets (ROA), which is 5%. For our return on equity, which is 16%. So that's all for me.
Okay, thank you, Anik. So now for Mr. Faris,
Yes.
the interpretation of our company, the strength and weakness of our company. Please explain.
Okay, alright. So first, I will start with the strength. So our current ratio, after we are calculating, we see that the MB current ratio is 1.624. This is a solid indication of liquidity, meaning the company is in a good position to cover in a short-term application. So overall, this reflects well on the TNB ability to manage its working capital efficiently. So adding to that, if you look at the asset test ratio, which excludes inventories from the current asset, we calculate of the current ratio of 1.595. This demonstrates that even without relying on the sale of inventories, the MB still has a sufficient liquid asset to cover its current liabilities. So this suggests a stable liquidity position and further reinforces that TNB has solid short-term financial health. So I would also like to point out the debit ratio of 0.615. While this ratio may seem high, it's quite typical for capital-intensive industry like utilities. This shows a balanced capital structure with a room for further leveraging if necessary, which can be beneficial for future growth initiative. So next, our weaknesses. Now let's address some potential weaknesses. One concern is high leverage, while a debit ratio of 0.615 reflects a balanced structure. This also means that TNB carries a substantial amount of debit relative to its asset. Each times of the economic uncertainty or rising interest rates, this could become a financial burden, increasing debit servicing costs and putting a pressure on the cash flow. So another point of the concern is inventory management. We observe that inventories account for RM2,758 million out of the total current asset, which is relatively high. This could suggest an efficiency as a significant portion of liquidity is tied up in inventory. If inventory turnover is slow, it might lead to risk like depreciation, which could negatively affect of cash flow. Additionally, I like to highlight the potential for liquidity strain. Although the asset test ratio is 1.595, it's quite close to the threshold of 1.0. This implies that any decline in TNB current asset or an increase in current liabilities could result in liquidity challenges. So if that happens, the MB could struggle to cover immediate obligation without dipping into a inventory, which might not always be ideal. So that's all for me.
So thank you, Mr. Faris. Now for last agenda, which is the final decision making. So based, Mr. Jared, based on the analysis, what is our recommendation? What is your recommendation for our company that share are worthy of investment?
Now I'll be presenting our investment recommendations for Tenaga Nasional Berhad based on our comprehensive financial analysis. So we can have a look at this. After a thorough review of TNB's financial ratios, market position and industry trends, I recommend a position on TMB. Let me break down the key reasons behind this recommendation. TMB's profitability ratios indicate positive trends. The company's return on equity stands at 16%, which reflects a strong ability to generate returns on shareholders' equity. The improving net profit margin at 8% also suggests efficient cost management and revenue generation. So in terms of liquidity, TMB's current ratio is more than 1 and the quick ratio is 1.15%. This ratio suggests that TMB has enough short-term assets to cover its liabilities. While this is a positive sign for solvency, it also indicates a potential for steady operations. So regarding to debt management, the debt to equity ratio of 0.64 shows that TMB is heavily reliant on debt financing. So if you are looking for a long-term investment with steady returns, TMB represents a solid opportunity. We advise keeping an eye on specific risks such as regulatory changes, market competition, which could impact TMB's future performance. So I'm happy to answer any questions or discuss further details. Thank you.
Okay, so that's all for our agenda. Now for the question and answer. So any question and or clarification that anyone want to make?
That's all.
That's all. Okay. I think that's all for our meeting. So thank you all for joining, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Alright. Thank you.